Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. I don't know what's happy about it. I'm happy, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm here with my friend and co-host, Dr. Ed Milewski. Doctor?
Yep. Doctor.
We're going to perform some pretty sophisticated surgeries today. It's dissecting the global economy for your dining and dancing pleasure.
Make an adjustment.
Make an adjustment here and there.
To someone's pocket.
To someone's pocket. A wealth transfer exercise underway.
Yes.
Much like looking at our illustrious headlines today, seems to be underway at the highest levels of government and finance as per usual, Edward. What do you say about the...
Yeah, this little thing you just told me about. This has got my...
got your
interest.
Got your feathers in a tizzy?
Well, I mean, look, when a rate that's supposedly supposed to stay with the Fed funds rate, give or take, tenth of a point, eighth of a point, all of a sudden it shoots up in 2 days from basically 2.5 to 10.
Requiring the intervention of the Fed.
I'm surprised this isn't making the equities look a little... there's got to be guys like this going like...
Huh? Yeah.
Like looking in the rear mirror.
Yeah. Okay, so this was posted at what time today? This is the thing, at 2:16 p.m.
45 minutes ago.
45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what the hell it is we're talking about, we're looking at the Wall Street Journal article here that's indicating that the New York Fed has added $53 billion into the banking system via repurchase agreements after the benchmark Fed funds rate moved outside of its target range. If you look at this chart here, this is the cost of overnight borrowing shot up to this. It says that it only went to 5%, but the chart shows it touching 10%.
No, 5% the first day. And the way I read it, it was 5% the first day and then soared to 10% the second day. It's like,
you must have read the second paragraph.
Yeah. The second word.
Wow, the second word.
Yeah. No, James, this is significant. I'm going to make this is how it starts, eh?
Right. Okay. Now, so there's that.
Yeah.
That's highly indicative of something super irregular happening.
Well, cash shortage
in the money markets.
Cash shortage. Yeah. And they're saying a lot of corporations had to make their pay their tax bills, so that sucks money out.
Okay, so now look at this headline. The Central Bank of Europe, the ECB, said it would pay both a higher rate of interest on deposits and charge a lower fee for lending. Now, what does this all mean?
Well, they're paying.
It says, if you think negative interest rates are weird, brace yourself. The European Central Bank is about to start lending to some banks at less than it pays them for putting money on deposit.
So that they're going to start making sure these guys make some money.
Like, what is going on here? It's like fraud for the rest of us, and only at the top it's got a make-whole provision. We're going to fuck up the global economy and the monetary system, and we've got a make-whole provision running for the top institutions in the world. The rest of you, good luck. Have fun. Nice knowing you.
We're in the land of nuttiness.
Yeah. So how soon is it till they stop filling up the bank machines with cash and your credit card stop working and the grocery stores stop getting filled with food?
Yeah, I don't know. We've been through a lot of things before, like the thing in 07, 08, whenever the Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers fiasco occurred, that made the world blink because you had the stock market. I mean, it dropped precipitously.
Multiple occasions. So that's the theme of our day. And coming up on our show today, we have Alvaro Torres joining us all the way from Bogota, Colombia, by way of Doima. He stopped in to give us an update on his happenings in Colombia, and that was great. We're going to talk to Theo Zunich from YSS Corp. We'll be here at about 3:45, and Laura McCallum is here right now to give you the news.
Here's what's making cannabis headlines this Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. Shopify Inc. announced new features on its platform to help U.S. merchants sell hemp and hemp-derived CBD products online or in brick-and-mortar retail locations, where permitted by the law. Starting today, U.S.-based retailers of all sizes can start and grow their businesses by selecting hemp or hemp-derived CBD products using the trusted commerce platform that powers more than 800,000 merchants globally. Cresco Labs and Origin House have each submitted certifications of substantial compliance with the request for additional information from the United States Department of Justice Antitrust Division in connection with Cresco Labs' pending acquisition of Origin House. Upon substantially complying with the second request, Origin House and Cresco Labs agreed to extend the outside date to complete the transaction to November 15, 2019. Canopy Rivers announced its portfolio company TerraSend Corp has entered into a distribution agreement with Psych Medical Limited. The agreement with the Israel-based pharmatech company will launch Psych's flagship product, the Psych Inhaler, in Canada. The Psych Inhaler is the first metered-dosed medical cannabis inhaler and will provide Canadians with an alternative to dried flower medical cannabis. Metered dosing allows patients and healthcare providers to consistently deliver treatment at pharmaceutical standards. Slang Worldwide has accepted an investment from Bruce Linton. This investment reinforces the existing relationship between Slang leadership and Mr. Linton, as well as the company's vision for the future of Slang's CPG-based cannabis business model, which offers a diversified portfolio of brands with coverage across every major product vertical. AMP German Cannabis Group announced that its prospective medical cannabis supplier, Pure Life Cannabis, has completed its EU GMP gap analysis and will undergo an EU GMP audit before calendar year end. Upon passing the audit, Pure Life will be subject to an EU GMP inspection and certification by German state officials. AMP and Pure Life have a non-binding MOU to purchase up to 1,200 kilograms of EU GMP medical cannabis flower annually for 4 years. Delta 9 Cannabis announced the opening of its fourth retail cannabis store has been scheduled for September 27, 2019 in Manitoba. At approximately 2,500 square feet, the newest Delta 9 Cannabis store is the largest cannabis retail store in the area. Empowered Clinics has entered into a letter of intent to form 50% ownership joint venture partnership with Heritage Cannabis for the extraction of hemp for CBD oil production and formulated CBD products. Heritage will install extraction units and related downstream extraction equipment inside Empower's existing 5,000 square foot licensed hemp processing facility in Sandy, Oregon. Once operational, the JV will begin producing branded products for Empower's corporately owned physician-staffed health clinics in Washington State, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona. Plus Products announced the nationwide launch of its first ever 100% hemp CBD product line. The launch is being supported by a newly established brand partnership between Plus and American superstar John Legend, who will advocate on behalf of the company's new nationwide hemp CBD product offering. Plus is also partnering with the global sleep company Casper Sleep Inc. to introduce its melatonin and CBD-infused sleep product. Sundial Growers has completed its first shipment of cannabis to Nova Scotia's alcohol and cannabis retailer. This is the 6th province to receive Sundial's crafted-scale small-batch cannabis. Village Farms International announced its 50% owned joint venture, Pure Sun Farms, has begun shipping branded dried cannabis products to the Ontario Cannabis Store for retail sale in Ontario. Pure Sun Farms expects its first product to be available at licensed retailers in Ontario and through the OCS website this month. Vivo Cannabis has partnered with Lineo Health to be its European medical cannabis supply partner. Lineal Health recently received its EU GMP certification from the Spanish regulatory authorities. The agreement is a multi-year commitment with increasing supply volumes as Vivo expands in the European medical market. Weekend Unlimited announced its branded products will be launched in Oklahoma, building on the company's existing presence in Washington. The initial offering in Oklahoma begins with the launch of a newly created Weekend THC Edibles branded product line. And that's your news for today. To keep up to date with all cannabis news, visit the Cannabis Daily at MidasLetter.com.
So CanTrust halted at this hour.
It was halted I noticed at about 10:30, 11 it was halted.
Yeah, and so we don't know why yet.
Well, I don't think it's going to be good news.
You don't think so?
No. Well, let's tell you. You say it's going to be good news. I'll bet you it won't be.
Well, Bruce Linton was on some alternative news show today saying that he hoped somebody would buy CanTrust. But let's just speculate on that.
They're not going to buy the liabilities. They're going to buy the assets.
What are you going to buy?
They're going to buy the assets.
Which is?
Well, you can buy
a bunch of greenhouses with no licenses. Licenses are not transferable.
They are not. Maybe they'll make a special case in this case.
They'll make a special case in this case? That would require a change in the law.
Well, let's use this as a case study.
So basically, all this thing is a greenhouse that is purpose-built to grow cannabis in the Niagara context. But
don't they have a crop there? Why can't we examine the crop and buy it?
Because they've been shut down.
Jesus.
I know. How about that, eh?
Yeah, you think you would like to be, let's say, unfortunately, you were an innocent director in this thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is at least one guy there sitting there, what the fuck just happened?
A few, probably.
Well, okay, probably a few. And that's the unfortunate thing. Like, you better have some insurance. There could be some serious jail time allowed here. Like,
well, this is the thing. This brings me to another point. One of the main bones of contention with the re-election of Justin Trudeau, which is not going to happen because Justin Trudeau pressured the prosecutor, who is also the Justice Minister, Jody Wilson-Raybould, to extend a deferred prosecution agreement to SNC-Lavalin instead of proceeding with a criminal prosecution against their executives who were found guilty of bribery over in Libya. Now, the ability of the government to extend a deferred prosecution agreement represents a bifurcation in justice, in that there's one tier of justice for white-collar criminals who can afford to pay off the government in exchange for a deferred prosecution agreement, whereas anybody else is going to have to face the music and do the time. So the logic behind everybody who supports the idea of a deferred prosecution is the underlying rationale is that the shareholders and the employees should not have to suffer because a few executives go rogue. And that's a reasonable extrapolation, except that the operators of these companies who are going to act nefariously to gain an unfair advantage over the competition are going to use the fact that the government will not prosecute because they want to protect the interests of innocent shareholders and employees to get away with it in the future if they don't go ahead and prosecute them. So not only is it incumbent upon shareholders and employees to know who they're working for and investing in, but that logic is flawed fundamentally and is the essence of corruption, which is why I say with full conviction that Justin Trudeau should not be considered.
They think he's going to win a majority
for the vote, but he is unfit to govern because the government has done this in a most underhanded way. Yeah. You're basically electing a corrupt government if you elect Justin Trudeau, and so don't do it, people.
Do you think that we're in a world now where the more corrupt you are, the more popular you are?
Definitely.
Okay, so he's going to win.
Well, that's unfortunately quite possible.
I know,
but
it's a little like we're seeing
just because the corrupt guy wins. Like, look at the state of the U.S. now after almost three years of Trump. The guy has destroyed the global reputation, has pretty much undermined its geopolitical supremacy and its position as a leader of the
free world,
the democratic world. He's basically caused a strengthening of the Eastern alliance between China and Russia to occur, which is only bad for the West. And so all these things this guy has done, and yes, he was the most popular, and he was corrupt. So, you know, it's a sign of the times that it's the rise of the stupid people, I think.
Well, maybe we should say it's, you know, to be human is to err, right? To be human is to err, not A-I-R.
Or H-A-I-R.
Or H-A-R-E. E-R-R. Error.
To make an error.
No, we're all just people. We're all just stupid people.
Yeah, and actually, good point that another market participant said to me, he says, I don't know why everybody's not able to get along. We're all so stupid. We should really just try to help each other the best we can. Yeah. I subscribe to that theory now.
We need all the help we can get.
True. But again, we have to protect ourselves against malignant forces like Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada in its current configuration.
Jesus.
And CanTrust is a great example of that. So now CanTrust, should we extend a deferred prosecution agreement to CanTrust just because management decides to go ahead and grow weed in unlicensed rooms?
No, we should slap their wrists and tell them to go sit in the corner for half an hour and say, don't do it again.
Or should we take them out of business and say the penalty for breaking the law is you're not qualified to do business?
For the wages of sin is death.
I thought the wages of sin was Jesus Christ or something.
No, for the wages of sin is death.
The wages of sin. Not the sin of wages?
It's wages. That's how they say it.
The sin of wages is alcohol.
Wages of sin. Yeah. Jesus. Okay, well, look, you know what? It's interesting. It seems to me, and every time I look at this S&P, now we have another top. We have a topping action. We have very little action today. The chart looks like, you know, let me just put up the...
I was wondering if you were going to pull up your chart.
I was going to pull up my chart. Pull up my chart.
Don't pull on it.
No, don't pull on it. Pull it up. There it is. It's right there, and I'm going to put up I'll put up a 3-month. 3 month, and that, again, there's the high, right here, the all-time high, right there. And here we got within 10 points of it, and we did a doji candle there, and now you see these little candles are looking smaller and smaller. The big moving average is flattening. That's over 3 months.
Zoom in on the last 2 days, though.
Okay.
The last 2 days. The interesting
I'll put up a 5. How about I put up a 5 day? No? You want 2 days? 5 days gives you a little more. 5 days.
Okay.
Yes. So there we tried to reach we got over 3,000 here, right there.
But wait a sec. What's going on in this market? Look at this. Why is the S&P flatlining?
You know what? It's because maybe the selling is being bought up. That's the only thing I could think of, because if what you just showed me about the friggin' rate spiking. Now, I'd like to see a chart of, say, the last 3 or 4 years to see, does that happen again? Like, does this happen often?
Of the overnight rate.
Like the thing's shooting up like crazy. But look at this, folks. This is a 2-day action here on the S&P. And I got to tell you, this is about as innocuous as it gets. In fact, I'm thinking about going for a nap right now. Just looking at this is making me tired.
So there's what's going on with the S&P. Now look at this gold chart.
Well, let's look at the gold chart.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to put up the gold.
It's also flatlining. Like, look at that. It's leveling out here in a range between 1490 and 1505. And if that isn't a manipulated gold price, I don't know what is. Now, here's the funny thing. Yesterday, the Justice Department announces the arrest of 3 J.P. Morgan traders for manipulating the price of gold over 10 years, going back from 2015. And I'm curious about the timing of that. Are we supposed to assume that thanks to the Justice Department arresting these 3 traders, that now the price of gold is not going to be manipulated from this point forward, and we should believe what we see on the chart?
I don't know.
I think that the level of manipulation and corruption at the top levels of the U.S. government is starting to spiral so far out of control that it's like the inmates have overtaken the asylum.
I remember, but ultimately, like, okay, the chickens do come home to roost. Like we saw gold go from.
You mean the cuckoo birds?
The cuckoo birds come home to. Gold went in 2002 was around 250, 270 bucks or whatever the fuck it was. Excuse me, whatever they.
Pardon your language.
The F it was.
Yes.
And it went to $1,900 in roughly 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay. But before that happened, I was trying to find the bottom in gold, and I was buying junior resources and, getting kicked in the where daily.
Easter.
And you know what they said? They said that the traders that traded options in gold said the easiest way to make money was to sell call options naked, because gold wasn't going anywhere. You could see. And even I remember Joe Kernan on NBC saying something like, "Oh, what do you want us to do? Go buy gold?" And just soon after that, gold took off and didn't look back, and made everyone who questioned gold's ability to protect them, they now know it can protect you.
Right.
That was a monster move. And that move started here already. We just saw it start. The last 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, gold's up $200, and it's sitting here. Now, you could say sideways, whatever, but I think it's just a too short term. I think we're getting ready for a monster move here.
Well, that's just it. You look at the convergence of these things. The overnight Fed funds rate catches a bid up to 10%. What does that tell you? That only short-term debt is the only acceptable risk in the bond market. Short-term risk. Anything longer than overnight is considered too high risk to hold in a federal instrument. What does that tell you?
Well, if the short-term...
That tells me that the government's on the verge of collapse.
Well, I would be careful I'm going to choose somewhat more, I won't say collapse, I'll say,
something less
annihilation, say.
Annihilation. I like that.
No.
Annihilation.
You know what? Printing money. No politician can resist the machine.
Well, so this is the thing. The end game for every currency is hyperinflation when it has been abused by the government to the point of hyperinflation.
Yeah.
So what happens when hyperinflation happens? The government typically steals the real assets in the vault of government and tries to get away and take it to their own private island and wait for the shit to clear and the new currency to roll out. And then they try to come out and say, well, thank God I saved you all from hyperinflation. So, I mean, this looks like what's happening here. The convergence of rates going negative, the Fed funds rate needing interference, the ECB needing to actually essentially bribe banks to lend money because the banks are saying, what do you mean negative interest rates? We're not going to lend money if the rates are negative. We're not going to pay people. And so this is essentially the financial universe is collapsing before our eyes. And it's going to do so in slow motion because this is one big scam that is starting to unwind. And just as we rightly predicted that the price of gold has been manipulated for 10 years on multiple fronts, in the spot market, in the London Bank, and now in the futures market, this is happening. And what can you do to protect yourself? But buy gold. And I say buy gold, I mean it. By Jove.
Or by golly.
By golly, by gum. Or buy cannabis stocks and pretend it's all not happening.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very interesting. Now, I think I just saw a trust go by.
Kent Trust?
I saw TRST go by at $1.92.
Kent Trust, well, it's halted.
I'm just wondering if it came back on.
No, it was $1.92 when it's halted.
Oh, okay, so that was the last trade. Okay.
Yeah, now, but look at the trade. Let's look at the chart. Actually, this is a good idea. Let's look at
now they got it. Now it's coming back.
What?
They're going to... CanTrust is now showing, let's see what the news is.
Oh.
News release, Canada receives cannabis license suspension. CanTrust receives cannabis license suspension. That's the headline. And it's reloading, now that the news is out, showing $1.75.
So there we go. We were right about that too. Well, remember the conversation we had about a month ago? The only option for the Health Canada to maintain credibility is to revoke the license of CanTrust, and we were right, Edward.
I hope they don't,
We were right. Okay, so what else are we going to be right about? We should make some more predictions.
Now, by the way, as we go into the late of the day, the Nuggets moving up.
And,
It's over 33 again.
Really?
And that could go back to 40, 45 so fast and make your head spin.
Yeah, well, the way it seems to be working out, it's going to do that. Gold will take off overnight, and
you know the way this thing, and you know, I was long, and I got stopped out near the bottom once again. And every time I do that, I should say I should be buying now, not selling. And the next day, something happens, like oil tankers get exploded or whatever.
Yes.
Anyway,
get blown up.
It is interesting. It's fascinating time to be around.
Yeah, I'm looking at the second by second ticks here of the
just
Nugget
the second
ETF.
ticks. You're not looking at the first ones or the second ones?
Just the second ones. Every second one.
Every second one?
Every second one.
So you got sort of a...
And gold's not looking like it's about to break out.
Dash dot. Yeah. I think.
Anyways, Alvaro Torres was so kind to stop by, and here's our conversation from just a little bit earlier.
Khiron Life Sciences Corp is a Latin American-based pharmaceutical company that develops and commercializes medical cannabis products. Khiron has core operations in Colombia and is fully licensed in the country for the cultivation, production, domestic distribution, and international export of both THC and CBD medical cannabis. In May 2018, Khiron listed on the TSX Venture, becoming one of the first Colombian-based medical cannabis companies to trade on any exchange globally. Khiron Life Sciences Corp is listed on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol KHRN.
Alvaro Torres, CEO of Khiron Life Sciences, joins me again. Alvaro, welcome back.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Great, thanks. Alvaro, let's start with an overview. What's happening in Doima, where you're growing, and what's happening with your laboratory operations?
Well, we finished everything already. We finished the project, the construction of the lab. We already are growing commercially. I'm just waiting for the government to give us the authorization to start selling. But you know, it's been a year and a half of building and the construction, a very high quality lab. So we're very happy that it's finally over. But now we're looking to second phase to build new greenhouses,
right,
and to expand our capacity for energy. So we're building solar projects in our plans so that we can reduce the cost of energy, and we're just expanding that. But we're very happy that the lab is finally finished. We are, right now extracting and analyzing and just getting ready to start selling Colombia.
Sure. I noticed that the lab is extremely large. It looks more like a commercial formulation facility of a cosmetic plant than it does a laboratory. And is that sort of what it's been built to do, is to create commercial capacity of products?
Well, the lab is very big because it's GMP design. So we have microbiological analysis labs, and we have physical chemical analysis labs, and also extraction capacity. But what we're going to be producing there is just raw extract. We take that to a third-party lab in Bogota on our own, and we'll produce the final products in Bogota. But what we get out of Doima is just, let's say, our basic raw extract. It's so big because we have also analysis labs, which are very important here because you need to analyze everything from the soil all the way to the final product. And that's a daily, day-to-day type of activity. It's a beautiful lab. You have to go and see it.
Yeah, I will be. I'll be there soon to see it again.
Yes.
I'll be there again to see it again soon, I should say.
Yes.
Okay, so now the Colombian government has instituted a quota system for THC production. Tell me about that and how that's going to affect Khiron's business going forward.
Well, the quota system is not just Colombia, it's the United Nations. It's an authority called the JIFE. JIFE gives every country a quota for THC production. So Colombia has this year 1.5 tons of quota, which has not yet been asked by any company so far. And what we're doing, everybody's applying to a quota so that you can be allowed to grow THC. So all those authorizations are going to start happening at the end of this quarter. And the reason the government wants to do this because I guess they don't want to really be growing more cannabis than what we're already known for, and make it very legal. So the quota system makes it a little bit more complex for companies who don't really have a demand, because to be able to get the quota, you need to show the government that you have demand for it. So if you're exporting THC, you need to show the government that you have not only a contract with a third party outside Colombia, but you also have to show that that other country allows for import of THC. Which you can imagine right now, how many countries have those type of permits, very limited. And for domestic production, you need to show the government that you have the demand in country, which is one of the reasons why we acquired islands. So that we have 120,000 patients in our clinic. We can talk about at least 10,000 patients that we can start with next year. And then you prove to the government that these patients have the conditions and how much cannabis they use, and that's how you apply for a quota system in Colombia. And you do that every 3 months, every 6 months, every time you can update your demand. And that's what is becoming now the most challenging part for other companies. Before, a year ago, it was all about licenses. So who could get a license? And everybody was excited about getting licenses. And there's, I think, 500 licenses in Colombia. And then that became very easy to do. Now it's all about cultivars and your registration of strains. So the number of companies that have that is decreasing. I would say there's probably 10 or 12. And from then on, if you want to do THC, you have to ask for quotas.
So is the quota system that's imparted by the United Nations, is that legally binding on Colombian companies?
It's more of a guideline. But for countries like Colombia, who actually take money away from the United Nations, it matters a lot. Countries like Canada, Germany, who actually give money to the United Nations, it's really not that important. That's, for example, Canada today has no quotas for THC. But Canada doesn't care. Or Germany doesn't care either.
Sure. Okay, so tell me, at this point, how many registered patients are there for medical cannabis in Colombia?
Well, we have our own system because we have a clinic that has 120,000 patients with neurological conditions. So we know how many patients we can start giving.
So you have 120,000 patients?
No, we have 120,000 patients with conditions like chronic pain, neurology.
And so there's a process to convert them into clients directly for the product.
You have to do a lot of education, which is what we're doing for the doctors in our clinics and the doctors outside the clinics, and you have to start looking at which are the patients that would be more suitable to begin the process. You have to start these things slow, right? Because it sounds amazing to have 120,000 patients, but remember that we are taking care of the quality of life. So we need to be very careful about who's going to start the program. But I can tell you there's a lot of excitement, not only in the clinics, but outside, because basically, I would say the top 5-6 companies, we've already gone through a lot of the process of cultivation, building, all of that is done. So we're just waiting now for the government to give the go-ahead to start selling, and they will start selling. And in our case, we've been preparing our patients and our doctor for 1.5 years. And we acquired islands in December of last year. So we've been working 9 months to get all this program going. And once it gets going, well, just a matter of fact, making sure that you can ethically decide which patients can be part of the program. And once that happens, we'll start. And that's just in Colombia, right? We're trying to figure this out in Mexico and Peru and the rest of the Latin American countries.
The financial performance of cannabis companies as reported in their quarterly and annual financials in the last, call it 3 weeks, 4 weeks, has been characterized uniformly by absolute disappointment. And everybody seems to be having a hard time making money. Even the government of Ontario, who generated $68 million in sales, did so with $106 million in expenses, thereby losing $42 million bucks, and they don't even have to grow cannabis. So is the outlook for Khiron going to be different from what's happening in North America?
Well, we've always been very conservative the way that we approach the market. And we all have to understand that this is a difficult market to begin. But we've been doing this for only 1.5 years. And we're already generating $5 million in sales for the first half of the year with the clinics and with Khiron. It's an education process, but I'm really not that concerned because the way we look at and approach our business, we're very conscious of our SG&A. We have a great team, but it's also based out of Colombia, which makes also very much cheaper than if we were setting up the company here in Canada. We're ready to start looking at the products. We're already starting to see how we can export Khiron into the United States. Hopefully all of that will be done this year. Start patient prescription and so on. But so far, if you look at our overall results, they're being in line with what the analysts expect us to be doing, and we have 3 analyst coverage. What's going to happen of the second half of the year? Well, everybody's expecting results, right? And nobody's more interested in that than me.
Right.
But I'm very optimistic about what we're doing because of the clinics and the performance that we're having, and the fact that we're looking to Quita, into expanding Quita worldwide into Europe and the United States, which would be fantastic. But also, we have a very good financial position. We have $55 million in cash since June 30. That gives us a lot of time and patience to be able to build our business correctly. And we're doing a lot of investments that are just going to drive that value. But
sure. And how is the expansion going into other Latin American countries? For example, I noticed that you're licensed to sell products in Peru, for example. Do you have products on the shelves in Peru? And is Peru a market that you expect to develop quickly?
Well, Peru just launched regulations and they approved by law medical cannabis. So what we're doing right now in the moment is looking at the same model in Colombia. Where do we find clinics? How do we build demand? And just be ready for when the government of Peru says, I'm open. One thing that we don't have to worry so much right now is that we already have our product. And we're already having the extract, and we're already doing cultivation. So it's just a matter of time until the government opens it up, hopefully by the fourth quarter of this year. That's what they've said. In the meantime, we started the construction of our Uruguay facility, which I don't know if you've seen some photos of it. It's a very nice facility, very different from Colombia because of the weather conditions. But I'm very excited about that because it's going to be our entryway into Brazil, which is not yet fully regulated, but there's a market there right now for compassionate basis. And when you have products coming from the United States, 30 milliliter bottles selling for $350, and you can produce that for $150 with 80% gross margins, that gets very exciting.
Sure.
So we're looking forward in Uruguay a lot.
Right. Okay, so sounds like you're just executing on the business plan, paso a paso, as they say, step by step, and it sounds like it's really coming together, Alvaro. So we'll keep watching. We're going to have our crew down there in September.
That would be nice.
And we'll keep the story going. Thanks for joining me again today.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. I found it interesting that a few companies announced that Bruce Linton had joined their boards as a executive chairman and or advisor and or invested some money. It was like a string of press releases, and kind of funny. So like, wow.
Yeah, well, he had the almost the perfect run.
Yeah, well, I'd say he had the perfect run, except he didn't sell all his stock just before it went south.
Yeah, but he held it down. I mean, if he sold it here, he's still got more money than he's ever going to need.
Yeah,
but maybe he knows what we were talking about earlier.
Maybe.
He might, because he hasn't changed his house.
That's true.
He hasn't changed his cars. Hasn't changed his wife.
Hasn't changed his wife. Definitely not.
So, in other words, he seems to me not too moved by the money.
No, I think he seems to be governed by, simple values like family, community, and that's what I like about Bruce. But that's what I like about the guy. Anyways, so what else we got going on? So gold, not doing anything. The S&P trading in such a tight range, it looks like it's got dials on either end of it, or it's being shoved through a filter with a very.
Have we mentioned on the show that CannTrust is trading again?
Yes, CannTrust is trading again.
$1.76.
$1.77.
$1.76.
75. We're just meant to disagree with each other.
Well, okay, so that, then they announced the licenses have been suspended, so that's not good.
Yeah.
Wow, who would have thunk it?
Yeah, no, I know.
Let's turn it into a shell. Roll it back, start over.
What's that?
CannTrust.
CannTrust? I don't know, but
I don't think so.
No,
I think they got some legal issues.
Yeah, I think that over the next few years, CannTrust is going to be a story that keeps providing a reminder to the remaining participants in the cannabis industry that there is a worst case scenario out there. And, you know, I still can't believe that that CannTrust, the company that up until this came down the pike was looking like it was going to be one of the unicorns, one of the major contenders.
One of the darlings, one of the winners.
And in fact, we've got I'm going to run just a little clip here from, oh no, I can't. But there's a clip on our site of we were at CannTrust in January 2018. If you go to the playlist called Cannabis Site Tours, and you can see what CannTrust was looking like at the peak of its growth, and how everybody could be so surprised by what happened. Because when we visited, we were so impressed with what was going on there that we stuck around longer than we needed to, just because it was so cool to be in that space.
So would you say that, maybe I don't want to ask this question, but should I ask it?
Ask it.
So when you now you've seen a lot of premises, you've seen a lot of...
Whoa, don't ask that.
Okay.
No, I don't. I'm just kidding. I still don't know what the question's going to be. What question, Ed? Go for it.
Would you say that would you say what they had going on, what you saw going on, does it still stick out as your mind as being stated, like they had it figured out?
Well, yeah. Like, look at this is their operation now that we're playing from our video, and they had automated packaging going. They had it all on fire, way ahead of when they could sell that volume. And look at the level of this cleanliness. Everything is spotless.
Yeah.
Everybody's in gloves and gowns and, you know, safety glasses, and they just had it going on. And it's just remarkable to me that you could go from this to essentially looking at prison sentence.
Do you think someone's going to go to the slammer on this one?
Well, I think it would be criminal if somebody didn't. Because all these people who have placed, all the employees who have invested their time into this place, all of the investors who have invested their money into this thing, those people deserve some kind of justice. And I think the only justice is that the people responsible, are properly backslapped into next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that who that is or what it is going to look like, but yeah, they think, but in this
who was the gentleman that we used to have on the show all the time? Remember when they had their thing over at the...
Brad Rogers, but Brad left the company.
Brad left the company.
Like months before this scandal broke.
Maybe at the right time?
Yes.
Although...
Definitely at the right time.
You think anybody's calling him up?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got to see what's going on with the, what comes down the news. Here's the interesting thing about that whole thing is if those guys were growing weed in unlicensed rooms, when did they start growing weed in unlicensed rooms? How long back were those rooms unlicensed? I mean, that's the question that we really don't have an answer to yet. And so it's not really our place to sort of insinuate anything, but that's a question that's still out there. Is exactly when did this kind of stuff start? But there's lots going on. Lots going on for CannTrust, and I don't think anybody's going to buy it now because there's really nothing to buy except a bunch of greenhouses.
Well, you may be able to, yeah. Well, there's still some assets, right? There's still, but the cash is going to be used to defend their litigation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think they're going to sell pretty sure they're going to be forced into bankruptcy protection pretty quick here. And that's where the assets will be sold. And some other LP will pick up those assets because they are primed to be licensed, obviously.
If you had to say, okay, pick there's going to be one F up here in this space, a real big one. Try to guess which one it was. I don't think they would have got a lot of votes.
CannTrust?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would have picked it. Anybody went to that facility, they had the two facilities,
sure.
would have just been
one you didn't know about because it was hidden.
Well,
actually it wasn't hidden.
I mean, this is the thing. It's like we went to both facilities. There was no hidden rooms. We walked around the entire perimeter.
So they were probably using the same proper techniques in both facilities only one wasn't licensed.
Okay, let's. I have another guest now, and my guest is the CEO of YSS Corp. He'll be with me in just 1 second. Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered.
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
and I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here.
It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
Hey, Theo Zinnick joins me now. He's the president and CEO of YSS Corp, trading on the TSX Venture?
TSX Venture.
Under the symbol YSS. Theo, welcome.
Thank you.
Theo, let's start with an overview. What is it exactly that YSS Corp does?
YSS is a pure play retailer in the cannabis industry.
Okay.
We've gone through a lot of growth over the summer. We were one store, about 20 employees early June. Today we're 12 stores open and probably about 140 total employees. A lot of growth, and it really came on the back of a couple acquisitions we did earlier in the year,
right,
as well as the Alberta regulatory environment opening up.
So is all of your stores in Alberta?
Currently, yes. Yep.
Okay. And are you planning to spread across the whole country?
Well, we looked quite hard at Ontario. We were hoping to see a little bit more of an open market in Ontario. Right now, it's tough to build a business around the regulatory framework in Ontario.
Really?
We're seeing some good opportunities in Saskatchewan and BC as well. BC's really grown. I think they're up to 70 licenses now.
Right.
And a lot of the municipalities have done a lot of work. And
sure.
So we're looking there. We're looking at Saskatchewan, but right now the core focus of our growth is Alberta.
Sales are the lowest in BC per capita than anywhere else in Canada. I'm not surprised by that, having spent half my life in BC in the prime of the dark market, and it always boggled my mind. I mean, I remember in my particular neighborhood, the thought of selling cannabis was quite laughable because everybody grew it, and it was a matter of exchanging cannabis just to show off what you'd been growing and comparing it to what your neighbor had done.
Everybody's got somebody.
Exactly, eh? So, so BC doesn't strike me as a very attractive market.
I think we have to be selective in BC. We're allowed up to 8 stores total.
Okay.
We will look at some premium locations. There's some great tourist destinations where you might not have the locals.
All right.
As well, we think that we are going to capture the black market over time. The prices are coming down from the wholesale perspective. Product quality is going up. We're getting Cannabis 2.0 products hitting the market soon. Those are all factors that we're positive on in terms of tapping some of that black market at least.
Okay. You say that relative to Ontario, Alberta's rules are much better. What is it about Ontario rules that makes it tough to do business here?
Yeah, it's really the ability to build a business plan and get a license.
Right.
Entering a lottery is not a business model.
Right.
So,
how are you going to finance that? I'm going to enter a lottery.
Yeah, and early in the year, I was dealing with a lot of shareholder calls around, what are you going to do? And really, Alberta had a licensing moratorium as well, which is why we went out and did some acquisitions. We had to do something. We had to do some business. Now with Alberta open, we know that when we build a store, we spend that capital. We have direct line of sight on cash flow payback on that investment. We have direct line of sight on when we can open that store.
Huh. Very cool. So what does the economics look like in your stores? You can only sell, obviously, government-sponsored product. Yep. And so there must be like a limited margin and a limited range of things you can do to improve that margin. You can't advertise.
Yeah, you're right. Advertising is tough. We've had a little success online, some posters, but news just dropped that it's getting even more restrictive.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is the restrictions around marketing also mean we don't have to spend a lot of money in marketing because nobody can.
Right.
And we don't have access to those traditionally expensive types of marketing. So we focus on what we can do. Word of mouth is a big seller in cannabis. If you think about how cannabis is sold really through the black market forever, it's a guy that smokes and you ask them. So it's really word of mouth, visibility of storefronts, focusing on stores that are grocery anchored, liquor anchored, fast food anchored. Location. It begins and ends in a location.
Right.
We know not all stores are equal. We got to focus on quality over quantity.
Okay, so what do your economics look like? How much money are you making, or are you making money? Are you profitable?
Absolutely, we are. Across all, the stores that have been open in the last few weeks are still in that ramp up period, but the stores that we've had operating under Sweet Tree brand have been open since 2018, and the store that we bought in Red Deer was also open in 2018. Those stores are, north of probably $2.5–3 million in revenue a year. We target anywhere from kind of 16 to 19% store level cash flow margin out of those stores. So that would go against the corporate costs.
Interesting. How do you grow the business when you are location restricted? And I guess there's got to be a saturation point that comes at some point in a province like Alberta.
Yep, we look to Colorado for those stats. Colorado implies about 3,600 stores across Canada. The population against store count and considering revenue, that would imply about $2.2 million per store across 3,600 stores across Canada. When we look at that in Alberta, we figure it's 450 stores at market saturation. The key is making sure you're one of those 400 to 450 stores making money 5 years down the road.
Right.
And it begins and ends with location.
Location. Okay, so tell me, are there any growers and suppliers of cannabis from the universe of LPs that are licensed in Canada who are regularly head and shoulders above the others in terms of what customers want?
We love looking at this kind of data. And we always put our customer first, so we always try to supply those products. When I think about a few that come to my mind, Afri's done a great job. They're good supply. They're Rift products. They're Broken Coast products. They all move well. Was pleasantly surprised by the launch of Color Cannabis, which is WeedMD's recreational arm.
Right.
They came in with a great wholesale price, allowed us to sell at under $10 a gram for not necessarily the highest THC product, but very nice, high quality product.
Really?
Those are a couple of good examples. Those are the ones I like.
Right. And is the audience in Alberta very price sensitive, or is it more quality oriented?
Price sensitivity is bigger than people would expect.
Right.
I think it's indicative of the fact that we are maybe tapping into a little bit of the black market with those higher quality prices that we can sell for $10, maybe under $10 a gram. The higher price products do move, but not like the good. It's a balance, price quality. When we hit that good price quality balance, those products move.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think that the Cannabis 2.0 products you were talking about, which I'm assuming is vapes and edibles, do you think those are going to displace a lot of the premium dried flower market?
I think to an extent, a little bit. I think that people like dried flower will continue to consume dried flower. I don't know what it's going to do to our revenue, and I don't want to try to project it, but I do think it's going to be positive for revenue across our stores. When I think about the vape market in California, I think it's pacing dried flower now. That just gives you an indication of how that oil vape market potential could be. And we're looking forward to it. And even the beverage line hasn't done as well in the U.S., but when I see some of the products that these LPs are going to bring from the beverage line, it gets me excited.
Yeah, right. Do you think that, or do you see a future where these other products provide a better margin for you as a retailer?
All indications are yes. It should be a better margin. It should be a more cost-effective product as well. Weighing gram by gram in a dried flower and then packaging it, especially if you're doing 1 gram, is somewhat inefficient and does impact the price we can sell for. Early indications are that margins will be better on the Cannabis 2.0 products. I don't like to predict the future, though. I'll tell you when I find out.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so then, do you have a sense that the vape crisis that's unfolding right now is going to maybe set back the evolution of the vape market in Canada's 2.0 program?
I hope not. I think it's a risk. In Canada, we do have Health Canada, all the way through this entire legalization process, have done everything with the consumer's health at front of mind. And I know that the regulations within Canada do restrict a lot of the things that are happening in the US. I hope that the people that operate to those higher standards and get those cartridges from well-renowned manufacturers and use the proper, the proper inputs for those products. I hope that they can be an example of what it should be. Sure. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so finally, in your stores, how do you differentiate your store from other retail stores?
It begins and ends with location, but we do have to compete on everything else as well. Customer service is incredibly close to heart. A big reason why we did the Sweet Tree acquisition in June. We brought in some backers of well-known restaurateurs in Calgary. They bring over 20 years of hospitality, retail, restaurant. The same way they train their restaurant staff is the same way we train all our staff. We have an academy that we've built, a proprietary academy that goes through a lot of the fun education around cannabis. Customer service always front of mind, and our store layout. It's a little different than some of our competitors. We don't have canna in the name. We don't have leaf. We don't have green. We don't have a cannabis leaf. Right. If you walk into our store, you're greeted by primary colors. A light store. It's inspired a lot out of travel and exploration and journey. You're going to see arrows. You're going to see even our menu boards. They're like the old school train stations that spin. Oh, cool. So we've had a lot of fun. We think we got a good retail environment and great staff.
Great. All right, Theo. Well, we'll wish you luck and look forward to having you back on the show. Sounds like it's going to be great. I can't wait to see the store. I'm going to be in Edmonton in October, so I'll come by.
Perfect. We just opened Edmonton last week.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me today.
All right. Thank you very much.
And we're going to come right back here. We're going to wrap up the show with a quick look at the large indexes and see who is leading the charge to the downside and who is leading the charge to the upside. Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered.
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents.
And I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here.
It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
All right, we're looking at the indexes here on midasletter.com/cannabis, and the large cap index here, which I will zoom in on a bit, is down 1.42% on the day to 75.46. The small cap index is down 1.62% to 1100.89. Look at that precipitous drop here right at the last few days. So this is the resumption of the summer doldrums, X of summer. So clearly the market weakness is a lot more stronger than we thought. It's not just summer, it's ongoing abdication of faith, shall we call it?
You know, summer doesn't end until the weekend, I don't think.
Well, my summer's over now.
It is?
Sure.
What, are you a different calendar?
Yeah, I basically operate in my own little world.
So what follows summer?
Winter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The Midas Letter Venture Index has lost 2.12%. The only green in our day is on the Midas Letter CSE Index, which is up, look at that, squeaked out 0.01%.
Wow, flying.
Isn't that awesome? Anyways.
I noticed Kronos is under $15.
Kronos is under 15 bucks.
I think they got about $15 a share in cash, don't they? Like,
is that what they got?
I don't know.
Still?
It's a big number.
Huh. They got a lot of shares out, though. Well, anyways, that's our show for today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't at midasletter.com. We started a Telegram stock alert service which, what is that? Just go sign up, figure it out. You have to sign up for the newsletter to get the invite to the Telegram stock alert service. It's basically going to give you an alert in real time when stocks start moving to the upside on big volume. It's a neat little algorithm we've developed, a little bot. Anyways, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.